Hello everyone, welcome back. Today's story is from r/TIFU. Story 1, TIFU by spending the last year on Reddit talking to myself after being muted. Today was the day I realized I messed up by not realizing sooner and just thinking my content was bad. For the last 12 months, I've been commenting on people's posts. I've created my own posts. I haven't had a single upvote or reply to anything. My karma has been at 885 for as long as I can remember, so I just figured I wasn't very interesting. Still likely true. Last month, I started to try and see my own posts through guest accounts and figured out they weren't showing. I could still clearly see my comments and posts on my account. Anyway, I finally mailed the help team and found out my IP was accidentally mixed in with some action to take out spammers. If you can see this, it's all sorted now, and if you can't, I'm still in my own little Truman Show. If you're procrastinating, and let's face it, you are, feel free to go through my post history and verify the lack of any human engagement. Edit, so I've gone from castaway to a full room of people handing me little arrows. Wilson and I thank you. Edit 2, this is crazy. Thanks to everyone for all the jewels and things I know nothing about. I'll figure it out and pay it forward. Special thanks to those that are answering my unanswered questions from previous posts, MVPs. Please don't be too sad about this. I find it kind of funny that I've been such an idiot for so long. It's okay to laugh with /@me. Edit 3, Reddit is awesome. I've missed you guys. Don't feel mad at the mods, it's a tough and thankless job, and Flutter/bots are a real PETA. It's just one of those things, and I thank them for putting in the hours. I also want to use this very brief soapbox to raise awareness for mental health. Most of us here use Reddit as an escape. Some people here have fewer friends than they do on the net. Make sure each other is okay every once in a while. If someone goes missing, like for more than a month, if you see someone struggling, send them a message of support. Even a stranger can help. I love all of you weirdos. Edit 4, no more, I promise. I'm completely overwhelmed by the response and the nice feedback. I'm trying to answer all of the questions, but it's difficult to keep up. I created an AMA when this thread went down. If you relate to any of the topics close to me like diabetes, gaming, mental health, parenting, etc., then keep in touch. Here's a shameless pic of me with the best doggo in the world, and authentication for mods. He listens to me even when you guys don't. Story 2. TIFU by lying to my wife for 13 years. My wife hates orange and lime flavored candies. I love them. Well, love the orange, like the lime. So, she passes on the orange Starburst to me. She passes the orange and green Skittles to me. She passes the orange and green gummy bears to me. This has been happening for 13 years. What she doesn't know is that the green Haribo gummy bears are actually strawberry. Shortly after we married, for one reason or another, I looked at the back of the Haribo gummy bears package and discovered this. So I haven't said anything for 13 years. Every time we get gummy bears, she gives me the orange and green, strawberry. I've never said a word. I've enjoyed eating my little lies. Until last night. We had some gummy bears, and she opened them and she started to hand me the orange and green ones. But after a few minutes, I saw her looking at the back of the bag. Then I saw her eyes get real big. She turned to me and asked if I've known that the green bears were strawberry. She always thought they were lime. I was honest and nodded my head yes. The look of betrayal was unreal. She asked how long I've known, and I was honest. I told her as long as we've been married. She quit giving me the gummy bears she didn't like. She was even eating the orange ones out of spite. I don't think I'll get any more gummy bear discards after this. Time to buy my own. Edit. We don't eat these every day. A few times a year at most. I don't just get the rejects. It's a shared bag. Whenever she grabs a few, she would pick out the orange and green and hand them to me. Just like I would give the pineapple to her. Story 3. TIFU by wearing a shawl, which ruined my relationship with my GF. Minor background, I am a pretty affectionate, and at times, effeminate dude. I'm 6'2" and have a pretty tough guy background in that I was in special forces a while ago, and my roommates all served as well, but I also have thin wrists and sit on my friends' laps and blow kisses to them and stuff. I'm not gay, I just am me. So while I was in a shop with a roommate a few weeks ago, he saw these really cool shawls that we both couldn't get out of our heads. He returned last weekend to buy them and now we have these shawls. Mine makes me look like a Star Wars character and his looks like the outlaw Josie Wales. These are seriously awesome shawls. The first night we wore them, everybody at the dive bar we went to, dudes, thought they were awesome as well. Then this girl and her friend arrive on invite from Shawlbro, and they are seriously turned off by our sweet shawls. Like, acting pretty weird about them and making comments. Whatever. So I get a call from my GF. she's tired and wants to hang out at mine, and so I bid these mean girls and shawl bro adieu and head home. I'm still wearing the shawl when my GF arrives and she's also really taken aback. She won't even kiss me until I take it off. We get intimate and go to sleep, and the next morning she starts asking me if I'm gay. And she's really serious and aggressive about it. I tell her I'm not, that if I was I'd definitely know by now, and she counters with her major evidence of the fact that I own a shawl. Anyway, she gets weird and leaves, and then sends me a text later about how she's sorry and that she needs to think about what kind of man she wants, and then doesn't contact me for days. So yesterday I invite her out. She's stumbling over her words and talking about how she likes tough guys and how she grew up in the South and needs to get used to the big city, but that she doesn't know this or that, and eventually I just tell her very politely to get lost because I'm pretty insulted by this point. On the way back, now that I'm not directly in front of her, I get this long apologetic text from her, but the crux of it is that yeah, she's just not that into me anymore because I wore a shawl. Later on, I tell Shawlbro about this, and he also had a blowout with the girl he was seeing over his shawl that very same night we went out. We are both going to keep wearing the shawls though, they are warm. Edit. She's a nice girl, she's just not picking up what I'm putting down. It's a silly thing to be mad about. And by popular demand, it's shawl over for you all. Edit 2, Shawlbro. Story 4. TIFU by owning a golden retriever while being black? Work was rough today, and all I wanted to do afterward was to sit on the couch and let the TV watch me while eating food not cooked by my own hands. The answer to that? Delivery. Food ordered, I let the dog into the yard to burn some energy and sat camped outside with him while waiting for the delivery. DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber, and everyone other than Jehovah's Witnesses has trouble locating my address strictly relying on GPS, so it's nothing for me to post up and wait outside for when they are close, flag them down, and go back inside for a contactless drop-off. Pertinent details before everything hit the fan. My neighbor and I share a fence with a doggy door as our pups are super close. You can bet each time that if my dog is outside, hers will follow for cross-yard playtime. This was the case today and probably bad judgment on my part to think that I would be able to break up the fun quickly. Both dogs were in the neighbor's yard when the notification came through that the driver was pulling up, and I had to call out a few times to get my dog's attention. Thankfully, my neighbor whistled for her dog, and I had to put on the voice for mine to acknowledge I existed. Then I took off running for my door while waving to the driver, who by this point was getting out of the car. My pup and I have a game called Runaway where I will take off yelling runaway, and he will chase after me like some human-sized fetch stick. I used this to my advantage until he realized I was putting him inside. I managed to get him through the storm door and close the screen before he could run out. Then I realized I'd left the gate locked like an idiot, with the driver standing right outside by this point. I didn't have a mask on, and neither did she, so I yelled from the porch that she could leave the food by the mailbox. That's when things started to get interesting. Is that your dog? My nonsense radar didn't go off. I thought she was asking a question with an obvious answer because duh, she was a dog person. I engaged with dog owner gushiness. Yes. Blah, blah, blah. His name is XYZ. Wanna say hi? I figured I'd be nice since she brought my food. But she just stood there awkwardly for a moment, put the food down, and quickly jumped back into her car. In my mind, I was like, okay, weird, but whatever. I snatched the food and went back inside. I washed my hands, and from the kitchen window, I could see the full street where she was still parked outside. Thinking, okay, weird again, but I didn't dwell on it too much, figuring she was looking at the route to her next location. I went about my business of preparing to annihilate my meal. A few minutes later, my dog began barking like crazy at the door. I glanced at the cameras and realized she was still out front, parked directly in front of my mailbox. Okay? What's going on here? I went outside and tried to get her attention, but she was on the phone and didn't notice me. I walked up like I was going to check the mail, and she finally pulled off, toward the back of the neighborhood that only has one way in and one way out. Lots of people make that mistake and quickly turn back around, but she never came back. By this time, I thought I was losing my mind. I went back in but kept watching the street for her car to pass. It never did. People are weird, so I just left it at that and went back to eat. About 10 minutes later, My dog started going wild at the door again, so I checked the cameras to see 2 police cars sitting outside my house. Yup. The cops were here. I continued watching the cameras, realizing they were walking back and forth in front of mine and my neighbors' yards. I went out to see what was up, and they introduced themselves before explaining they were called because a stolen golden retriever was reported at my address. Oh, boy. I explained my version of what happened, and they were respectful and apologetic. They asked if they could see my dog, so I brought him out. His collar had tags matching my address and phone number, which was proof enough for them. As we were all wrapping up, driver's car crept slowly from the back of the neighborhood. I yelled to the cops that she was right there, and they positioned themselves in front of her car, making her stop and speak with them. This lady rolled down the window and was sobbing hysterically. She claimed she saw me take the dog from the neighbor's yard, lamented that animals get no justice, and, the cherry on top, declared that my kind only owns pit bulls and Rottweilers, so there was no way this dog was mine. At that point, I decided I didn't have the energy for this nonsense. I went back inside and stayed on my couch. My day had already been rough enough. Everyone left a few minutes later, so I assumed she got a warning. I did report the incident to the delivery service and was offered credits toward my next meal. I splurged on a bakery and am currently demolishing a slice of carrot cake, grateful things didn't escalate further. Ordered food. Racist delivery person thought I stole my own golden retriever. Didn't get carted off in cuffs, didn't get shot, but I did get cake. Edit. Wow, Reddit. Waking up to so much love and support was amazing. Thank you for the kind words. I'll try to go through every comment and private message. Stay awesome. Carrot Cake Lovers Unite. Story 5. TIFU by having the username Soundman1488 for 15 plus years of being on the internet and unknowingly identifying myself as a Nazi. I recently discovered here on Reddit that my username, which I've been using for over 15 years across the internet, was connected to Nazis because of the 1488. They banned me on r/ask Reddit for it. When I realized what it meant, I was horrified. I posted about it here and quickly changed my name to Nazis Stole My Birthday. After that, r/ask Reddit unbanned me. The story didn't stop there, though. My post about the incident blew up and gained a lot of attention. However, it also got me a 3-day suspension from Reddit for circumventing my original ban on r/ask Reddit. Then, things took a truly bizarre and upsetting turn. This morning, I found out that my original post had somehow been edited to include a ton of inappropriate racial and homophobic slurs along with threats of violence. Let me be clear, this was not me. I have no idea how this happened or who was responsible. I understand that some people may not believe me, and honestly, I can't blame them. If I were in your shoes, I'd probably be skeptical too. But for what it's worth, I would never say, or even think, those things. My intention was to share my story and try to make sense of the situation, but it spiraled completely out of control. It seems that some misguided person thought it would be funny or impactful to hijack my post and insert hateful content. While I take full responsibility for what happens on my account, those statements were absolutely not made by me. I deeply regret that this caused so much upset and hurt. If I could, I'd apologize personally to every single person affected by what was written. To be clear, this was never a stunt to gain karma or awards. I know some will doubt that, and that's okay, I can't change everyone's mind. But for those who care to look, my original post on r/ban was simply me trying to understand why my username was offensive. You can also look through my post and comment history on both this account and my new one to see that this behavior is entirely out of character for me. I'm truly sorry for all of this. This experience has left me shaken and deeply disheartened. I think it's time for me to step away from Reddit entirely. Thank you to everyone who has offered kind words and support throughout this mess. Story 6. TIFU by stuffing my face with edibles before dinner with my wife's parents. Recently, I traveled to Denver, Colorado with my wife and her parents. As someone living in a non-legalized state, and frankly, a bit too timid to buy anything illegal, what I was most excited about was the chance to legally try fancy weed. What could possibly go wrong? First thing after arriving, I ditched the in-laws and dragged my wife to a dispensary. It was like a dream, jars of colorful options and friendly staff guiding me through the strains. Looking for a mellow body high? More energy? Just want to take the stress off? Yes, and yes. I eagerly replied and bought an eighth of 7 different strains. In hindsight, I learned my school never taught me the practical stuff, like what an ounce is or how much weed is a responsible weekend dose. My wife, who actually understands measurements, was shocked at the sheer volume of my purchase. Still, she relented, and we left with enough weed to open our own shop, plus a package of innocent-looking ginger snap edibles. Back at the hotel, I opened the cookie bag to find a dozen tiny cookies, each the size of a quarter. Disappointed, I ignored my wife's warning to read the back. Dose size, half cookie. What kind of monster eats half a cookie? Ignoring the suggestion, I popped a whole one. Then, when she wasn't looking, I quickly ate 2 more. Fast forward 30 minutes, and I was in the back seat of her parents' car on the way to dinner. That's when everything started to go sideways. My stomach growled loudly. My wife gave me a concerned look. "You didn't eat a whole cookie, did you?" she asked. "Of course not," I lied. At the restaurant, things went downhill fast. I don't remember how I got to the table or even ordering, but I'll never forget the waiter's worried expression. "Keep it together," I whispered to myself, out loud, apparently. The waiter nodded sympathetically and took our orders. "You're sweating." "From your entire face," my wife muttered, disgusted. Her mom looked over, concerned. "Are you all right?" "Yeah, just spicy food," I said, despite the fact that no food had arrived. "Bathroom." "Now," my wife hissed. I splashed water on my face, then headed to a urinal. This is where time completely lost meaning. It felt like I had been peeing for hours. Panic set in. Was my wife searching the restaurant for me? I reassured myself, "I've peed thousands of times, this can't be taking that long." I glanced at the guy next to me for some human connection. He shuffled away midstream like I was radioactive. Back at the table, I apologized for my long absence, even though I wasn't sure how long I'd been gone. I tried to make small talk with my father-in-law, but words stopped making sense. Thirsty, I stood up, waved my glass at the waiter from across the restaurant, and asked for more water. To his credit, he was very kind, suggesting I eat a roll to soak up the spice. Should I ask the waiter what's taking so long with our food? I asked my wife. "We just ordered 3 minutes ago." She hissed, furious. Finally, she snapped, "How many cookies did you eat?" "Easy there," I whispered. "I don't want your parents to know how messed up I am right now." "Really?" "They know," she shot back. Sure enough, her parents were just staring at me. For what felt like eternity. Edit, wow, thanks for the love, and some hate. For part 2, my wife evacuated me like a Secret Service agent before I puked or worse. The night ended with me groveling and her repeatedly whispering, "Please don't die, we have a mortgage." That's it for now. See you in the next post.